Morning all. Well, unfortunately we're still in lockdown and I haven't been out up the hills until probably just a couple of days after Christmas. I think it was between Christmas and New Year. So I've came out today for a bit of a local walk just from my front door, follow some of the tracks roughly down the course of Seaton Burn, heading towards the coast from the village where I live, which is Dinnington. It's a fresh, very cold day. Air temperature is -1. Wind chill has got to be around about -5 or -6. If I happen to see anything interesting en route, I shall capture it. These are just the fields around Dinnington Village. There's some of the local residents having their breakfast. I'll carry on and leave them to it. Two deer just jumped out in front of me there. Unfortunately I was too slow getting the camera out. They're just running off into the distance. They're really close, they must have only been about 4 or 5 metres away, but that'll teach me to keep my camera in my pocket. I don't know if you can make that out, but there's another deer just on that hedge line, just running past us. I guess there's been a little group of them hanging around somewhere. Just in front of me in these trees here are those two deer I saw earlier. I don't know if you can make them out. Just jumping over the fence. Got quite a decent set of antlers on them. Don't know how well the camera will pick them up. I'll carry on along here for a little bit. This is the bird watching hide at Big Waters Nature Reserve. I think it's closed for coronavirus restrictions, because I think it's also members only. So if you have a quick look in there, there are a few birds. I think that's a moorhen, is it? I'm hardly an ornithologist, but there's a robin. Some blue tits or grey tits eating those peanuts. And that is Big Waters Lake or pond in the background, obviously currently frozen. I don't quite know the difference between a lake and a pond. When does a pond become a lake? Vice versa. That's the hide up there, but as I say, it's all closed. This is probably just a little viewing point for the local bird watchers. And that is Big Waters, well and truly frozen. There's another bird watching hide over there. I'm going to head around the shore with Big Waters and back onto the main track. It's actually the number 10 national cycle route. It's the Reaver's Way, I believe it's called. Goes through the borders of Scotland, etc. Just heading off around one of the other little tracks at Big Waters Nature Reserve. Really icy along here, so I'll have to take it easy. I can never understand people that do that, go to the trouble of bagging up the dog mess and then leaving it lying. They might as well just not bag it up in the first place, but it takes all sorts, I guess. Quite fortunate actually that these tracks are frozen, because otherwise there would just be such deep mud. The only downside is that it's a bit slippy, but I can live with that. Doubt we'll be seeing much of this wildlife today. If they've got any sense, they'll all be keeping somewhere nice and warm. But they've got cold feet. There's normally huge flocks of geese here, but don't know where they all are today. Water level is actually really high here at the minute because there's been so much rain over the past month or so. This is actually the source of Seaton Burn, which flows all the way down to the northeast coast at Seaton Sluice. There's some of the local wildlife getting fed.
That's it. Half dozen slices of whole meal.
That's actually a real rare sight at the minute. I live right next to Newcastle Airport and don't see many planes these days, but there we go. This here is the outflow from Big Waters, and it's the actual starting point of Seaton Burn, which I mentioned earlier. Flows down to the North Sea at Seaton Sluice. What I'll do one day, I'll do a video following it from source to sea. I think it's about 16 miles or something like that. So you need a bit of a longer day, you know, longer hours of daylight. Swans there. There must be tough old things sitting in that freezing cold water. Rather them than me. I'll carry on back to the main track now. There's those bird hides over in the distance. Back on the number 10 cycle route, the Reaver's Way. Just heading over the footbridge, over the A1 at Seaton Burn. Day. It's a combination of being locked down and being a Sunday. This here is Little Big Waters. It's just on the other side of the A1, or the eastern side from Big Waters. There's basically a continuation of Seaton Burn. Right next to the A1 motorway there, just in the background. Carry on down here for a bit. That's the outflow of little big waters. It's flowing down into Seaton Burn. There's a lot of water in there at the minute, mind. It's normally just a tiny little trickle. You might not be able to hear for the wind, but that's me just approaching Wheatslade Country Park. Basically it's a big hill with a few tracks around it, and I believe the hill is the spoil heap from an old mine. We'll have a quick walk around there. Looks like there's some families there enjoying a day of sledging in the last of the snow. It's going to be 10 degrees next week, so I assume that will all be well and truly gone. That's me just approaching the top of the hill, or spoil heap, at Wheatslade Country Park. These three things in front of me are meant to represent the cutting heads from old mining machinery. Over in that direction somewhere, the old mine buildings are still there. Turn around, look to the north. It's not particularly clear, but we're looking there towards Simon's side on the horizon, and beyond that will be Cheviot, Hedge, Windy Glen, etc. Which is where I really wish I could have been today, but I'll not get back there until after lockdown. If we look south, those big floodlights there are Newcastle Racecourse, with its relatively new 1 mile all-weather straight. Head up to the top and have a look at these things. Just arrived at this little frozen pond here. This place is called Burradon. It's a tiny little village just next to a place called Burradon. I'm going to walk a little bit further on. I'll probably do 7 miles and then turn around and head back. Just arrived at Burradon Tower, which is kind of attached to Burradon House. I believe it was built in 1553. It's about 7 minutes to 4. There's a little information post here. Well, that's me turning around and headed back home now. A nice little trip out, just local, like I say. You're about 16 miles round trip. Plenty fresh air. And probably the last we'll see of the snow, really, because it's probably all going to melt this week. So just passing big waters again on the return journey. Those swans are still here. Not quite sure what swans do at night. I guess they just go and chill out somewhere. Youngster. There's one fluffing its feathers out a bit. That's me almost back home, so I'm signing off for today. If you've enjoyed the content in this video, please click on the thumbs up, and if you could also please subscribe to my channel It's absolutely free.